From the minds that listen to Christopher Rufo comes a story of a homeowner pushed to the brink. The jewel of the Pacific Northwest is under siege.
We have record numbers of crime. Our property crime rate is now 86% higher than Chicago, 250% higher than LA, and 400% higher than New York City.
A failing government has all but abandoned law and order.
That the police have told us to vote you all out so that they can do their jobs. And you're telling us, call 911? You're smiling. You think it's funny? You think it's funny the way we're living?
From the ruins of the once great city rises a fiendish creature. And though he may not have a home, he is taking heads for his household.
Detective, homeless guy got his head cut off up the trail. Citizen found the head about 15 feet outside the tent. Body was decomposing inside and there was a bloody saw next to it. Very brutal. Might be drug related. You just leave that to us, Sergeant.
This summer, one citizen is brave enough to emerge from his inherited single-family home to hunt that which hunts the most vulnerable in society. One citizen who answers to the higher code of frontier justice. Welcome back to Seattle Sucks! Woo! I thought Greg was going to cheer. It's me. It's Colin. This is you're listening to the podcast about hating the city we love.
I'm Greg, Officer Greg here.
Oh, Greg.
I've joined the police force.
Wow, that's you're projecting a lot of strength.
Yeah, that's my new cop character.
It's pretty good. It sounds like some kind of George Lucas creation, but
okay, all right.
I think it works. Yeah, so this has been quite a week in Seattle. Too much horrible and hilarious stuff to talk about. Heads getting sawed off.
What the fuck?
Christopher Rufo.
I'll be real honest, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about because I had to work last week.
God, yeah, that's the worst.
And so I woke up yesterday with a total work hangover. When you just wake up with a headache, nausea, like the whole thing. Man. It's like, so you're gonna have to be my guide on the journey through whatever is happening.
That's okay. I understand. We won't even cover everything that happened because something too beautifully grotesque occurred last evening.
Okay, yeah.
And that was the unveiling of Eric Johnson of KOMO's latest piece.
Opus?
On homelessness, which was called, just a very tasteful, understated title.
Like ours.
Exactly like ours. Called Seattle is Dying.
I'll buy that.
Yeah, so we were thinking we were just gonna watch this whole horrific thing and kind of deconstruct it.
Yeah, you have to show it to me. Okay, but wait, first, I still am laughing at this shit you showed me, where this guy tweeted this. I want to pretend this is how we found out about Seattle is Dying, because from Ari Hoffman, who you were saying is featured heavily in this shit.
He is. He's also a candidate for...
Yeah, he's running for District 2. Real estate and inflatable real estate. Cool. That is exactly what we need on the city council. But anyway, he retweeted this awesome tweet from this guy at the Mark Hobson.
The genuine Hobson.
And it says, at Jenny Durkin, it's sunny and beautiful outside until you look at the squalor on the streets. I want you to watch this KOMO report. Seattle is dying. You need to stop deceiving yourself about homelessness. We'll be voting for Ari Hoffman. Okay, that's just a basic, like, lame post about, like, you know, he's just tweeting this thing and standing for Ari Hoffman.
Right.
But the real miracle here that will, like, haunt me as I sleep tonight is his bio. At the Mark Hobson, Business development is the materialization of creativity.
Wow. Another John Galt in our midst?
Oh my god, it's so great. There are people like this who live and exist.
It's blown my mind.
Like, forget for a minute, just erase from your mind everything you're thinking about what business development is or isn't, okay? If you said to a human being with, like, a functioning brain and a connection to reality and other human beings in the world,
yes,
and you asked them to come up with, like, a word or phrase that could encapsulate the materialization of creativity, those human beings might say, as you obviously pointed out, they might say art. They might say art.
They might.
With this business development.
I can't. This is some, like, pee is stored in the balls shit.
Like. Okay, but this is a how I built it shit.
Yeah.
Isn't that the NPR show? How I built this, how I made this, or whatever. Yeah. The actual, like, repudiation of the, like, still now years later, the Obama, you didn't build that, like, with CEOs talking about how they built this shit. How they, like, the myth of, like, these people who create these companies. It's now, like, it's transcended, like, well, I think we had this myth earlier in, like, in the first half of the 20th century with, like, the, you know, like, Henry Ford and shit. But then it came back again with, like, the tech guys.
Yes.
But now that is so pervasive that it's like anyone who is CEO of a company is a visionary genius who created something.
Right.
Which is so fucking cool.
Well, when you're coming up with awesome little aphorisms like this
is a special human being.
A true believer. So shout him out, tell him that you agree, that you also don't believe in art, and the only possible valuable use of your time, energy, resources, creativity, thought,
soul
is into business development. And voting for Ari Hoffman.
Yeah, very cool.
The
okay,
Father.
I'm just in love with this guy, so I just wanted us to shout him out. Okay, so what the fuck is this thing? The things you've told me about it so far just sound so awesome, and I cannot wait to have the rest of my weekend ruined by this.
Yeah, it will do that for sure. This was teased earlier this week. I don't remember exactly when, and we were I was sort of trying to dunk on it. Lots of other people were just dunking on it, finger wagging, because it is so fucking ridiculous. Just that title, Seattle's Dying, and then the trailer is this drone shot of an encampment, I guess. And of course, what we see is we see garbage, and then we go on to see people on the streets. And I guess we're supposed to be sickened by their existence or something.
I'm picturing, like, Gulf War
footage. Yeah.
Like, when they used to show this shit because everyone agreed it was cool. Of the drone footage. I'm picturing the crosshairs, and then suddenly the screen goes white. Because the missile has gone off.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, that's certainly the subtext. Well, that is the text. We'll get into that when we actually watch it. But Eric Johnson assured everybody that he was going to be fair. This is his third film in his triptych on homelessness. The first was called There But For the Grace of God. He's got a way with words, doesn't he?
Okay. He's got away with cliches, but okay. See, that actually sounds like my, like, personal interpretation of homelessness in Seattle, and that's that I can so easily picture myself, like, being destitute and on the street. Like, it's not just because of my material reality, but, like, other things, just in the way I see myself in the world. Like, that's so easy. But, like, do these people really feel that way? I don't think they do.
You know, I recall watching this, but I don't remember much that came from it. I think it was mostly profiles of people experiencing homelessness, and if I recall correctly, it was not so judgmental.
Okay.
But he followed that up with Demon at the Door. So we're getting a little darker. And that demon is, well, it's heroin. So again, I think this documentary was maybe a little bit more judgmental, but still trying to portray the stories of people experiencing very real phenomenons like homelessness and addiction. So his own phrasing, in the words of the creator with a capital C, this one is about everyone else. Talk about a false dichotomy. It's about citizens who don't feel safe taking their families into downtown Seattle.
Everyone else.
It's about parents who won't take their children into the public parks they pay for. It's about filth and degradation.
Wait, he's talking about the cops?
Got 'em all around us. And theft and crime. It's about people who don't feel protected anymore, who don't feel like their voices are being heard. So that is the pitch for this. And if you're here for it, you are probably on Save Seattle, or you're voting for Ari, or you think Christopher Rufo is the second coming.
Well, you're just an angry shithead with a home.
Yeah, you have property.
You're the lord of your little fucking manor on Magnolia. It's mostly Magnolia.
This program is not about demonizing those who are struggling with addiction and homelessness and mental illness. On the contrary, instead, it asks the question, why aren't we doing more? So just really keep this alleged thesis statement in mind. Why aren't we doing more? Why don't we have the courage to intervene in lives that are, in the face of a grave sickness, reeling out of control?
Why can't we finally solve this problem?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it opens up with this hilarious, like, 90s trade paperback image.
Yeah, you said
Michael Crichton specifically.
And it is like literally, it's like Congo. That's what it reminds me of. The letter, like.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. It's like a dead ringer of something you would see in a local grocery store in 1996.
Well,
and we see the Space Needle, which is, its proportions are a little off. Just gonna throw that out there. A little top heavy. But it has these really bizarre roots. And we're...
okay, they're trying to do some, like...
It's
word
a metaphor,
cloud
yeah.
association, but in this visual metaphor, no, makes no sense. It's split into roots, but the roots are, it's not like all the roots of the problem.
No.
Because there's also, that would make, it's like, oh, it's a multifaceted thing. No, but also there's like...
Comfort.
What? Intervene. No, it's just all the, it's just a word cloud of like their, like the pitch for this thing. I don't know. So, getting off to a great start.
Oh, fantastic start. That first musical cue sounds like Angelo Badalamenti, like you're watching fucking David Lynch or something. It's like,
oh my god, it's this reverb surf twang, like.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. What if Seattle is dying and we don't even know it? This story is about a seething, simmering anger that is now boiling over into outrage. It is about people who have felt compassion, yes, but who no longer feel safe, no longer feel like they are heard, no longer feel protected. It is about lost souls who wander our streets, untethered to home or family or reality, chasing a drug which in turn chases them. It is about the damage they inflict on themselves, to be sure, but also on the fabric of this place where we live. This story is about a beautiful jewel that has been violated, and a crisis of faith amongst a generation of Seattleites falling out of love with their home.
Holy shit. Okay, so that's his opening salvo here. Like, where to even begin? Okay, so, like, you heard it. I mean,
yeah,
it's about the people who don't feel safe.
Right. Well,
fuck off, first of all.
Well, definitely fuck off, but it also simultaneously is dehumanizing.
It insinuates that everyone's an addict and
right.
chasing a drug or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, I'm guessing this is going to come up a lot, but he says the jewel or something that has been violated. Just to say raped.
Right.
Yeah. By these homeless people, evidently. So Seattle's being violated by these people. But the jewel in this is this, what comes up a lot in the reactionary trash on this subject. And also, it's also the same as in the sort of neoliberal conception of the city, right. Which is, in terms of like talking about development and stuff, is the city is just this dehumanized conglomerate thing, this thing that exists outside of the people who live in it, but is its own like entity with its own value. Yeah. That it's the jewel. So, right. A neighborhood can be revitalized even if all the people who are living there are kicked out of it. The city, the jewel, can be raped, violated by the people who live in the city. Right. What is the city? Yeah. It's this abstract concept. It's not the people who live in it, and that's just fucking terrifying.
Yeah, no, definitely. You just articulated something that I failed to, but was trying to get at on our Twitter ahead of this when I said if you believe that Seattle is dying because of the unhoused, what is it that makes the city alive?
Yeah, no, exactly that. Yeah, I mean, but this disconnect of like identifying this abstract concept of the city, it's like, as if like the city is this separate thing that you could like neutron bomb and as a way of saving it or something, like
yeah, we must
as long as but you couldn't, right? Because the city, really, the truth, that's the rhetoric, really, and we're going to get to this a lot, I think, again, is like, that's the rhetoric, that's what comes out. That's what's easy to say when the truth is either conservative reactionary or Lib Dem neoliberal meritocracy. Which is, all they can say out loud is to abstract the city from the people within it. But what is really motivating this idea is that some people are the good people who deserve to be here and who you would want to be here and who you would and who need to be served and who need to be catered to and sought and brought to the city, and other people don't. And it's like, with the neoliberal or conservative, it's two sides of that coin. It's either the liberals looking to raise up those people, those innovators, those creative types, those people who bring vibrancy, or just to raise the select few whiz kids out of poverty. So they want to raise up or encourage the good, and the conservative want to identify the people who the market, the invisible hand, has identified as lesser people. Yeah. As, in like a social Darwinist sort of conception that like, they're poor because they're fucking miscreants, and then that's what's hidden underneath the abstraction of the city.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point.
Anyway, this guy sounds like a real prick.
Oh, it's only gonna get worse, man.
Cool.
I drive my 12-year-old's carpool through Yesler when we do carpool, and it's a good talking point about what they're seeing, what we can do to help, how we can make a difference. And honestly, at this point, I don't have a good answer for how we can make a difference.
So this is the first interview, and this is with a Magnolian.
Awesome. Your people.
My people, yes. I know them so well. He starts off with that hilarious anecdote about his commute being a teaching moment for his kids. Which just the language of that is so couched in, like, or at least projects this liberal conversation that you might have with a child about, like you just said, Greg, the winners and losers of society. Because he goes on to say, I don't know how we help these people.
Okay, so this is the greatest thing. This guy, Matt Campbell, is his name.
Yes.
He's, for some reason, interviewed. And you know what? That could be a good teaching moment with your kids about, like, hey, this is how much this country sucks.
Right. Well,
and
that
we
is
treat
the
other
teaching
people
moment.
like you and me like fucking animals, and we create a system that produces homelessness. But then you go on to be baffled by why he is in being interviewed at all when he says, and I have no answers for that. It's like, my kids, you know, and I tell them, like, well, let's talk about how we can help. And then I say, I have no answers for that. I don't know.
Can't. The answer is
I'm stumped. I'm just, and then goes on to talk about how he's angry and mad.
Yeah. Well,
so basically, you're just interviewing a guy who's ambiguously pissed off that he has to look at this shit on his drive and has no answers, no analysis, no plan, no policy, no just anger and confusion. Well, then what the fuck are we watching this for?
So we talked about this before, and we talked about this on the show to death at this point, but he is sort of accidentally articulating this very superficial sort of ideology of these people of aesthetics, where he says, I'm embarrassed, but he's not embarrassed about homelessness because every shot is him in front of garbage. He's embarrassed of garbage. So he doesn't give a shit if there are 12,000 homeless people and they're clean. He cares when they're fucking dirty and you can see it and you can't hide it and you have to be reminded of that every day.
Yeah. And there's so much to say about that because, like, first of all, there's an obvious answer to that.
Yeah.
Clean up the fucking garbage.
Right.
Like, you could personally pick it up, you fucking dick. If you're so bothered by it. To me, the garbage is just representative of the fucking larger systematic problem. So I know that, there's gonna be fucking trash when our fucking society sucks this bad. Okay? Yeah. When we create, again, we reproduce people who are unable to sustain themselves.
Right.
It's a symptom of a larger thing. It's like
completely.
It's like nothing compared to the human suffering. And if you fix the fucking real problem, you could get around the fucking garbage. But it's worse than that because you could keep people homeless and pick up their fucking trash too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The city could get all over that. I mean, but this guy, and I take what you are saying about aesthetics. All the conversation is largely about, and I think people are motivated by that, but I also think it's another case of this being the available rhetoric
definitely
to cover the underlying motivations of disgust at the people themselves, you know? Anyway, so that's the first interview. Well, we're still in the beginning here. Let's talk about the whole thesis here. Seattle is dying. This is this, you know, this declension narrative of this apocalyptic fear, like he's playing the role of the Cassandra, right? Like, you know, we don't even know. He says Seattle might be dying. We don't even know. It's like I'm telling you right now. I'm seeing the future. And you dumb fuck. Seattle, like every other American city, already died 50 fucking years ago. Wake the fuck up. We killed the American city in the mid-century with suburbanization, freeways, and fucking racism. Like, I mean, they all reinforced each other to commit, like, you might as well have neutron bombed the central part of every fucking city as the white suburbs fucking grew up and cities fucking fell apart. The cities are being gentrified now, these areas, because that is available because those people have been so vulnerable there for so long, and that they're ripe for that investment only because we're only now rebuilding the city, you fucking idiot. It's not dying. Cities are rebuilding. They're just rebuilding very unequally.
Right.
Yeah. The American city is coming back, but it's coming back for fucking rich people.
Right.
And so it's this inversion of what happened in the last century, where rich people fucking moved out of the city to the fucking shitty suburbs. Well, yeah, when I say rich people, obviously, I mean white people. And now the opposite is happening, where rich people, it started in New York fucking 30 years ago. They started building Manhattan back up, and now that is just as they say, a playground for the rich, and and Seattle's becoming a playground for the tech douche, and everybody else is just being forced out to the dumpier suburbs and exurbs.
Right.
Everyone, the poor of all colors now are being, and creeds are being tossed out, on the waves.
Yeah, they're heading out there with the tide. I think that's a really great metaphor, though, or at least a example, the New York City Giuliani example, because we alluded to Christopher Rufo earlier. I think the undercurrent with Rufo, and I'm just going to call them his Lost Boys, they kind of have this broken windows conception of crime and what's happened to the city, and they view Seattle like Giuliani and many other people viewed like Times Square in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's one thing. And then the other comment I'll make is that I think that while I agree with you, like, cities are dead and they're only now being revitalized, and I tweeted this at some point in that same Seattle's dying thread, that I think people like Vanishing Seattle have been paying attention to what we're losing culturally, which is really a story of displacement of these people that can't afford to live in Seattle anymore. So to me, this argument, like, oh, Seattle's dying because there's some fucking garbage around, like, the larger story is one of displacement, and as you say, like, a disgusting level and growing level of inequality.
Yeah. The next guy, holy shit. This Ballard upholsterer, like, we should play the clip of this guy, because you just have to hear it in his own words.
This is just a bunch of. This is not right.
Out his window, he looks at this.
Oh, they're human beings. Yes, I'm a human being too.
Customers coming to his shop see the same thing.
I have known cops from Compton, Watts, South Central. They have some power in their hand. Here you see a bunch of twinkle toes running around here. What the heck? Because they run the city like that. They're having problems. They're not having enough authority.
There were fires set outside his shop this past summer, and Mr. Derek Shande does not blame police. He believes their power has been stripped away.
The city mayor doesn't give the cops authority. That's the problem. We need somebody with some weights and tell them, it's not legal living on the sidewalk. It's city ordinance. It's not legal living here. Why can't we enforce the law?
Okay, so holy fuck.
He convinced me. I mean, police have no authority. They've been neutered, one might say. Did he say twinkle toes?
Yeah, oh my god.
Like,
okay, but the first thing he's like, he claims to, he's like, I have been personal best friends with with cops from Compton, Watts, and South Central. Interesting choices. Let's say those neighborhoods that he has definitely been to and knows people from, that he doesn't just know from television as the black neighborhoods in LA, where he thinks of, like, gangbangers roaming the streets.
He just really loves NWA, man.
And he's like, bring the jackbooted thugs out and like let's kick these people. And then it's like, you're right. Okay, he is really upset by garbage.
They all are, and that's, I mean,
it's like, what? This isn't right. You can't.
That's all they can say. This guy's actually perfect. If you don't want to watch this doc, just watch this guy's interview, because he gets to both sides of the entire argument, which is these people create garbage that I have to see, and the cops need to enforce the laws.
The laws of not living on sidewalks.
Uh-huh.
What a fucking narrow view. Like, how can you just, like, if someone is living on a sidewalk, the problem is fucking bigger than someone's living on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's like, ask the fucking question, why is this person living on a fucking sidewalk? And solve that problem, not kick them off the sidewalk, okay? Like, this is basic. Even without, like, compassion for human beings, like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, have a fucking, like, take a step back. Have a fucking analysis just of anything.
Well, that's what's breathtaking about this, is that nobody does.
Okay, also, though, there have been arsons right outside his door. And then it, like, cuts to, like, police tape and, like, a black mark on the ground where it looks like someone had a fire to roast a fucking can of beans on. You'll notice they did not cut to a shot of a burned building.
Property, set on fire, and then it says he doesn't blame police, which I guess is insinuating that...
Well, he says it's the mayor. The mayor doesn't give them the authority. And as we've talked about before, the mayor does not give them the authority to enforce the laws about living on sidewalks or overstaying your parking.
I'm just imagining...
Oh my God.
George Lucas cop, like, smashing his ham fist into his locker and cursing Jenny Durkin because he can't get out there and enforce the laws.
Oh my God! No, I mean, probably that is how a lot of them feel.
I don't want to spoil anything for you, but
I'm loving this.
We may hear something to that effect.
Much.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
There has evolved a profound disconnect, and rarely has it been more vividly laid out than in this exchange.
If property crime is committed, violence is committed, you need to call 911, and the police...
You've lost all credibility when you say... You said 2 words. You said, call 911. Do you understand that the police have told us to vote you all out so that they can do their jobs? And you're telling us to call 911? You're smiling. You think it's funny? You think it's funny the way we're living?
The way we are living. Okay, this is holy shit. Okay, first there's some footage from Parks and Rec.
Do you remember when this happened? This happened right around the time we started the show.
Yeah.
I think Erica C. Barnett wrote about this. She was there.
Yeah. It sounded an awesome town hall meeting I wish I could have been at, where Mike O'Brien gets shouted down.
And laughs in
the woman's face because she's fucking psycho, and it's the only human response.
She's wearing an evidence-based solutions t-shirt.
Wow, I did not catch that. That's dark, dude.
Yeah, and she tells the
science. You have to use science. You have to enforce the laws with science.
That's what it takes.
And so she's talking about, like, how the cops are telling them to...
Which is very real.
Vote them out of office so they can do their job. Yeah. So they're like... My hands are tied. My hands are tied.
As he shoves another...
Okay, but then she's like, do you know how we're living? And Eric picks up on that, and he uses that rhetoric. How we're living. Motherfucker, how you're living? How you're living in your home?
Greg, I have to see it. I don't want to see it. Okay?
I have to... when I leave my home, I have to see garbage. That's how I'm living. My net worth has doubled in value over the last 2 years because I own a home.
Yeah.
I'm living so... how I'm living. Oh, God.
Yeah.
These... man. Okay, so in the next brief section, he gives you this stupid graph of property crime rates per 100,000 residents.
people, which came from the FBI 2017.
Okay, so this is just what this crime rates refers to is crimes reported by the police, okay?
Yeah, reported to the police. Which,
then
but percolates up to the FBI.
So, this is what they put in their paperwork. And here's the thing. When there is a population you are trying to oppress is marginalized by society, they're going to be hit with all the possible crimes and charges. They're going to be harassed with it with law enforcement as much as they can. So this means nothing to me. Because it is. Yeah, is there a correlation? Yeah, I'm sure there is, because homeless people are there to be targeted,
right?
To find these property crimes. And hey, listen, so we have a prison population epidemic right now because since the 70s, basically, we've had a war on drugs and war on gangs and things that are designed to oppress black communities, essentially.
Right.
The crime rates are high in those black communities because...
That's where we've chosen to enforce laws.
That's where the cops are finding people to fuck with. So fuck off with your fucking FBI numbers.
Well, totally.
Go
and
fuck yourself.
I mean, I know, again, we've talked about how stupid it is to stoop to their level of facts and logic, but I looked at this report, and I think there are over 10 cities that have higher rates of property crime, and so this whole conception of a major city seems like splitting fucking hairs.
Wow, that's even more cherry picked than I
would have
thought.
Dude.
Holy shit.
Orlando's above us. Portland is above us.
Holy shit. Okay, so he in the thing, just to be clear, he says he shows this graph. He shows all these cities. And he shows at the top is San Francisco, and second from the top is
Seattle. Well, and the language is major city. So what does that mean? Our population wasn't that different from several of the cities above us in property crime, between us and San Francisco. So
major city is basically just below the population of Seattle.
Spokane has higher rates of property crime. Yeah. So they're near the top.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous thing. And again, this is being crowed by Rufo and his Lost Boys. We're going to be hearing this all year. This is the drums of war right here. This is what gets these people
That's a
really
great
juiced
statistic.
Up. Yeah.
Highest rate of property crime, second only to San Francisco. The other, homeless... Yeah. Homeless-tropolis.
Right. Yeah.
Homelessopolis.
Yeah.
We just need to play this little monologue here. Take a listen to this shit.
And then you walk down the street, and you see a wretched soul like this, consumed by demons. Maybe madness, maybe drugs, maybe both. This is what suffering looks like. This is pain. Ranting and raving, screaming silently, coming completely unraveled before our eyes. And then tomorrow, he'll wake up and relive the nightmare all over again. Starving, eating trash from a garbage can. Look at the people walk by. Of course they're not shocked. How could they be? They see it every day. How can this be who we are? How can this be what we allow? How did the word compassion get twisted into this sickening reality.
Okay, that is like I think it's pretty self-evident.
Yeah,
like,
it speaks for itself.
It's just the language used and it comes in the end equating, and this I have a feeling we're going to see this thesis come up again, equating compassion with the cause for this.
Right.
It's our compassion for these people that causes them to be on the street because we don't, I assume, because we don't enforce the law.
Right.
So it's our compassion because we don't jail this man and kick him off the street that encourages him to be here and be mentally ill and unhoused and like not that our lack of compassion keeps us from fixing our social problems that cause this shit.
Right.
But everything in the conservative and neoliberal worldview is based on fucking incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And that including negative reinforcement. Okay? Now, conservatives are bigger on negative reinforcement.
Right.
Neoliberals are bigger on positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they both think everything in the world happens the way it happens in an idiotic economics textbook.
Right.
And that everything is mediated by
some market force.
Fucking incentive.
Yeah, that there's some lever you can tweak.
And so it's because we're not like throttling this man that he is fucking mentally ill.
We've allowed him to thrive. That's it exactly.
Yeah.
We've fed the bears.
We've allowed him to exist on the path of least resistance, right? Which is being mentally ill and unhoused and eating garbage.
Yeah, which is shot.
So that's because we've made that so easy. He's taken that path. There's no disincentive for him to do that. He's incentivized by the fact that no one's stopping him. So he's just going to be mentally ill and eat trash.
Oh, just, let that...
Think that through!
Just,
Fuck!
Think about that for... Jesus. Yeah. Wow. You know what? I'm starting to think this homeless life is pretty good.
Yeah!
But the other insidious thing about the presentation of this is it's shot like a nature documentary.
Right.
And
did they get this guy's permission?
It doesn't look like it. I think they're across the street.
Oh yeah, they're across the street. They're on a pretty long lens.
They're using dehumanizing pseudo-poetic language. Yeah.
You know, this is a very old like conservative technique of bemoaning the tragedy of it all. You know?
Right.
Really feeling the tragedy, but the takeaway is throttle the man. You know?
Yeah. Well, he's been given too much carrot. He's grown fat with mental illness on that carrot.
Yeah, he's been eating that. He's eating them carrots out of that trash.
It's time for more stick, and we got just
Holy
the
shit.
George Lucas cop to dispense that.
So another thing about this man that they're like subjectifying.
Yeah.
He's screaming to himself. Okay, and we have all seen this, and it's like this is like a human tragedy that we cannot like do anything about this as a culture, and more that really we're reproducing this condition. But again, I can so easily like I think people are really freaked out. Some people, and the people in this documentary are really freaked out by this sort of expression of mental illness. People talking to themselves, having these conversations, screaming, getting angry, and it's like. But again, for me, I'm like, I am almost there. I can so easily I feel like, oh, I get exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because like I fucking walk around muttering to myself all the time. Like
yeah.
And I know where I feel like I understand where it comes from in some level, and it's like it's not hard for me to picture myself at that place at all.
Yeah, I think that is I think that's an interesting way of looking at this, because it kind of reminds me of the obsession that white wealthy homeowners tend to have with true crime and like serial killers.
All right.
That only in that there's this like trying to make sense of something that is so alien and like that is so antithetical to what you think of society and modern life, and like these ostensibly to you in scare quotes are people, like they're like you, they're like everyone you know, but they're not at the same time.
So does this also potentially explain my total disinterest in true crime shit about serial killers?
Maybe, yeah, because you don't have that. You already know the answer.
I'm totally nonplussed by this. I'm totally unconfused okay.
The Puget Sound Business Journal estimates that Seattle and its outlying areas spend $1 billion addressing and responding to the homeless situation every year. And they say that number is almost certainly underestimated. Nonprofits, city and county budgets, police calls to homeless camps, hospital services, building tiny houses, drug treatment and outreach. Picking up needles, clearing out camps, garbage details, chain link fencing. And the more money we throw at the problem, the worse it gets. But of course, what is happening in King County and on the streets of Seattle isn't about dollars. It's about human lives. How can this be the right thing to do? How can watching human beings live and die in filth and degradation and madness be right? The cost isn't $1 billion a year. The cost is quality of life. The cost is people not wanting to take their families downtown anymore. Families not feeling safe in their own neighborhoods. The cost is people no longer feeling like they are heard, no longer feeling protected. The cost is people dying in the streets and the rest of us getting used to seeing it, numb to the suffering. The cost is incalculable. How did we get to this point?
Holy shit. Okay. So he's talking about like the cost. He's talking about the costs, right?
Yeah.
The cost is in human lives. Okay, I'm there with you.
Well,
and he's like, then he says, the cost is in the quality of life. And you start to go, yeah. And then it becomes clear he's talking about
for me.
It's
for me.
Of house people, because again, having to look at this, people being afraid to take their families downtown. And then he falls into another, this is very American. I don't actually know even where to put this politically, because it's a very liberal thing for sure, which is, he says, the cost are seeing people die on the streets and becoming numb to it or getting used to it or something.
Right.
This is the most pathetic, self-involved critique. This is very much like the liberal anti-war narrative from especially from Vietnam, which is, look what 50,000 American GIs died there, and the rest came home broken, and like, look what it's doing to us, and look what it's doing to us as a country. And this is very often the liberal anti-war rhetoric, is to say, like, we're being damaged by this, and that's the tragedy, right? And that's, and to some people, and this is, it's a very liberal thing to like look for an appeal that might appeal to a right audience or something, or something that's to the right of maybe what you think of as your real reason. But either way, it's still pretty sick when you think about, like, to just use Vietnam. I mean, imperialism in general, war in general, imperial war, is, we just as this country, we've, murdered, millions of people largely from the sky.
Right.
And we don't think of those
even our own
bomber
citizens.
pilots as having a lot of PTSD. And like the psychic toll that our wars have taken on the American psyche.
Yeah.
Just, and it's true that it has, and it has killed Americans.
Right.
But I mean, again, this is a strong part of the sort of liberal anti-war narrative around Vietnam. And in Vietnam, millions
Right.
of Vietnamese people were, and other Southeast Asian peoples were killed.
And still are by munitions. That are just,
and then just...
I mean, that's a legacy that's still here.
And political turmoil
Absolutely.
as well. And that goes for all our involvements around the world. I mean...
Yeah.
This is like a time-honored way of thinking about this. It's pretty lazy and stupid.
For sure. And one other thing that struck me about this particular line is that, as we sort of joked about, the first two things he says are, my life is so hard that I have to experience these homeless people on the street. Like, it's not about them, it's about me. It's about my inability to go to a baseball game without feeling guilty, my inability to take my kids out to dinner or whatever. And then this, on a sort of, again, on a superficial level, looks like he's saying, it's bad that homeless people are dying and that we're numb to it, but... to your point, like, what he's kind of actually saying is, I have to see homeless people die, and that's pretty shitty for me.
And he's trying to take it farther. He's trying to take it farther by saying, and it's really tragic that I and all of us are becoming numb to it.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy. We've become numb.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And that does sound like a tragedy, but...
It pales
really,
in comparison
but
to
really
the loss of life.
You're just talking about the psychic toll on you.
Right.
And it's
yes.
like, it would be if that was really part of the condition that caused us not to solve it.
Right.
But it's actually not.
Right.
This is like, again, a very lazy sort of psychological analysis of our paralysis in, as a society. Mm-hmm. And it's bullshit because there are structural forces that are not related to our numbness. Nobody likes to see this shit. People are numb to it because they have no choice.
Yeah.
They don't know what else to do. But that's not what's causing it.
Yeah.
It's because there are structural forces that are out of individuals' control. So individuals have to be numb to it.
Completely. One thing I wanted to touch on here that we didn't touch on in the previous clip about this poor person is that, again, this is straight out of Rufo's revolting Jeremiah ad that he put out or republished. That this is almost like word for word. He cites, well, first of all, he calls out the problem being compassionate leftists as really being the scourge and menace.
The compassion brigades.
That's that's holding back these people and has created the homeless industrial complex, which then in this clip they state the fucking Puget Sound Business Journal. Like, Lord knows where they got this $1 billion figure from,
That's
right?
Obviously underestimated. Yeah, so he cites Puget Sound Business Journal.
Yeah.
So that tells you right there the level of journalism that's going on.
Yeah, none.
We have to read more Puget Sound Business Journal. We still don't.
I know, we have to get a subscription. Well, now thank you to all our patrons, we might be able to subscribe. Though I'd feel really awful actually giving them money.
Our few dollars to Puget Sound Business Journal.
That would
somebody
really
hook
suck.
us. Somebody who has a subscription from their work or something.
Yeah, surreptitiously.
Just give us the fucking password because we want to start reading that shit. Because when we do get a hold of it, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah, we'll probably read articles every episode, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to hammer on this a lot. I mean, shit, we're only like 8 minutes into this fucking hour-long video. But all of this garbage, all of these shitty sounding stats, we're going to hear over and over and over and over again in this election. Like, this is what it's about, I think, in this city right now.
Yeah, it fucking sucks, man. But this is what it is. This is politics.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
This is the whole thing. This is
you're absolutely
the entire thing. It is the frame with which you see the world like this. Yeah. And I look at this same shit every day. I have a very, very different reaction to it. Because I have a very different frame of how the world works.
Yeah.
A very different analysis.
Right.
And I'm not a fucking monster. So part of it's that. I mean, some of these people, like, they're just, like, rich boomer shitheads who need to like die sooner than later, but
and
they will, but it's just not fast enough. But for the rest, I don't know. All we can do is more cultural production. That's it. All we
Yeah.
can do. Like, this... I mean, I'm saying, you know...
Yeah.
This show is not enough. We don't have... Not that many people are listening, but it's
Right.
like... This show is useful if there's just a shitload more, you know?
Yeah.
Like, with a better worldview. Just tons more media. Just an avalanche of left cultural production to, like, outweigh the hegemonic right-wing like horseshit machine.
Yeah.
That's we don't have that yet, but it's building like every day. There's more new
I hope
like
so.
left outlets all
I
the
hope
time, and that's so
Yeah.
that's all we can do. That's politics.
No, you're right. That is all we can do.
So he talks to this guy,
Scott Lindsay.
Scott Lindsay, which we should play a couple of things he says.
Of the 100 that you looked at, what percentage of them were homeless?
Yeah, from our criminal justice records, 100% had indicators that they were currently homeless.
And what percent showed signs of addiction?
Yeah, 100% also showed signs of a substance use disorder.
And what percent were mentally ill?
Yeah, a little less than half had been evaluated by the courts formally for mental health conditions, serious, severe mental health conditions. What this report also shows is that the police are working hard. They're making contacts, they're making arrests for criminal behaviors of, again, the same people in the same places over and over and over. What I think we need to focus on is what is our criminal justice system doing to support those police officers.
There's just so much like weird bullshit going on here. Like, again, like, so some of these people, these 100 people have a lot of criminal complaints, right?
Yes.
Those weren't actually convictions. So again, like what we talked about earlier is these people are probably targeted by the police. Like, they're talking about this in terms of like statistics and like, but they've just cherry picked. It's just some dickhead came up with a list of 100 homeless people who've committed the 100 homeless people have committed who've had the most altercations with the police.
Right.
It's just fucking meaningless. And then he even says it's evidence that the cops are out there working hard. We just need to support them more so they can do more of that. And it's again, I'm just going to take a wild guess and say a lot of these people are just being constantly harassed by the police for being mentally ill and homeless. Mm-hmm. It's just so vapid and stupid, like, and cynical and cruel that it's.
Right.
I mean, what even is there else to say? I don't know.
Richard Padden is 55 years old. Born and raised in Seattle, he works for the county. He looks around at Seattle's post-apocalyptic landscape and is amazed.
But this borders on insane. I mean, we're allowing ourselves to participate in an insane practice that is affording people. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Richard started a Facebook page called Seattle Looks Like Shit.
The next guy is this guy with the Facebook page Seattle Looks Like Shit.
Yeah.
Remind you of anything? No, but like he comes out and says like how like when I look around, he just basically posts pictures of trash again.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I look around and I just see like that we're like perpetuating this insane system, and I'm like, yeah. And then in the end, like earlier, he's like, I don't know what to do about that. And he said, he's like, I'm not heartless. Actually, he doesn't come off like a complete fucking dick.
That's because you haven't seen his Facebook group yet. But
okay, all right, fine. So he comes off charitably so far, but he didn't say that. He was not quoted there in the documentary saying as horrible things we've heard. And he's not wrong. It is an insane system. Yeah. But he's thinking narrowly like the system of our response to homelessness.
Right. And he likens it to the third world, right?
Right. Well, that's another thing. Is like, yeah, this is what most of the world looks like, you dick. Like, this is like, yep, guess what? This bubble that we've lived in where... Yeah. We are able to sweep away our underclass that is smaller and keep enough of the white population middle class has been an anomaly, largely, and like This is how a lot of people live, and you're not even living in that filth.
Yeah, right.
So
Again,
shut the fuck up.
You just have to see it.
But it's this fear of these people. The garbage. It's not just garbage. It's evidence of decline. Right?
Yeah.
It's this fear that we're on a precipice. It's like, it feels like a radical change to people, right? If they're like, Seattle was this like very like clean town, and very, everyone seemed like they were doing well, and if something can change so radically for the worse, like where is it going to stop? Like, that's what this Seattle is dying. It's this declension narrative. It's the fall of fucking Rome or something. Like, it feels to these people, I think, by looking around, they're like, this is so severe that we thought our society worked, that it had systems for dealing with levers and valves, releases for dealing with whatever.
Grinders.
Fucking clubs.
Abattoirs.
But they're looking at this and going like, where's it going to stop? It's all catapulting toward oblivion. And they're not wrong. You know what? They're not wrong. So I feel, I don't know, I haven't seen this guy's Facebook page, but I feel like a guy like this who's like, holy shit, the system doesn't work. We're incapable of dealing with this shit in the current paradigm. This is a person who, if they haven't gone too far off, they haven't gone too online and gotten into like the full on Death Wish like shit, then maybe this is a person whose skepticism of the current order can be a doorway to a left critique of capital.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. One thing I wanted to, again, highlight is this fucking Rorschach Watchman pose that Eric takes, talking about it being a post-apocalyptic city. What is with this framing?
I'm telling you, it's a visceral fear. It's a shock. This shit, the garbage is a shock to people. And if you don't have a structural framework, if all you can see is these people are generating this trash. And stop there and you go, well, why isn't the system handling it?
Right.
And you're not looking through to the next step and the next step and all the way down to a left critique of capital. Then you're just confused and you don't have any idea where this is leading. That is apocalypse.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so we should play like a couple of highlights from the cop questionnaire segment.
One officer wrote simply, "Yes, I am frustrated because I'm a law enforcement officer that is told not to enforce the law." Another wrote, "It's simple. Start keeping criminals in jail. Judges need to stop giving them ridiculously low sentences, and prosecutors need to stop accepting cheesy plea deals and actually lock people up when they commit a crime. That's all it would take to drastically lower Seattle's crime rate." Another officer said, "People come here because it's called Freeatle, and they believe if they come here they will get free food, free medical treatment, free mental health treatment, a free tent, free clothes, and will be free of prosecution for just about everything." And they're right. It didn't used to be that way. Law enforcement officers used to be able to enforce the laws. This officer continues, "In the last 5 years, there has been a culture shift, and it started with the legislature decriminalizing felonies and dumping convicts onto the streets."
A few of them brought up this concept of like, we're not allowed to enforce. I'm a law enforcement officer who's not allowed to enforce the law. Our entire fucking culture has lost the concept that is key to how even our shitty justice system is designed to work. And that is prosecutorial discretion. You don't throw the book at every single person in society for everything you can find. The system cannot work that way. It's not meant to. I'm not trying to defend our criminal justice system because, it sucks for more reasons than that. This is because of Democrats over the last 40 years running on a tough on crime thing. In their own eyes, feel that they as Democrats, have no credibility on law enforcement. So then they become prosecutors, and then mayors and congresspeople in all those positions, they especially as prosecutors, are tough on crime. They
Yeah.
try to oversell their tough on crime bona fides by prosecuting everything to the nth degree.
Right.
It's like an insecurity. It's like a coward's insecurity. Like, who... It's like, imagine someone's called a chicken and they machine gun a grocery store, you know? It's like...
Yeah.
To show they're tough, you know, like that is what Democratic prosecutors have done and touted for decades now.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, yeah, for sure, and Amy Klobuchar also,
and Joe Biden instrumental in the crime bill, right?
Yeah, as a legislator, yeah. The other two are prosecutors,
right?
And then the guy says, like, if we just enforce the law, that's all it would take to lower the crime rate. If you enforce the law as much as you want to, the crime rate would go up because there would be more crime.
Yeah.
More human action would be deemed as
Yes,
crime.
right.
So, whatever, the numbers are meaningless, but look, this is a part of a whole enforcement narrative that the only way we can imagine to solve any problem now is enforcement. Make a new law and enforce it. Throw the book at people, because again, it's all about incentives and, in particular, negative reinforcement.
Too much carrot. It's just too much carrot.
More stick.
You're on a list, you know.
Nice.
There's a list of the 100. They came out with the 100 frequent flyers,
Really?
friendly faces
Of everything?
of all the entire.
Which one am I?
Which number on the list?
Yeah.
Oh, you're up there.
Nice.
You're up there.
I was just saying, like, I've definitely been the most in Seattle. Guaranteed.
Travis, put the bike down, Travis.
I don't want to spend too much time on the most flamboyant person they could possibly find to
the
put
guy
on
who
camera.
looks like Johnny Rotten.
Yeah. Except to say that they show that body cam footage that shows
outside
that
the Laurenti.
Yeah, that they say it started, that it shows him walking down the street carrying a bicycle.
Yeah.
And the cops are yelling at him to put down the bike.
By
put
name.
down the bike by name. They know him. And then later it cuts, and it's been going on a while, and he narrates, it started with property destruction, and he throws the lid of a trash can at the cops or something, or throws it on the ground.
Yeah.
And then escalated to assaulting police officers. And then it's a bunch of police surrounding him, and he's swatting at them, and he's like put himself in a garbage can to protect himself.
Yeah, he's barricaded.
It clearly started with a man walking down the street with a bicycle. Then cops intervened, has 4 cops surrounded him.
Yeah. At least.
And then it escalated to quote property destruction, throwing around a trash can.
Yeah.
Right. Then when there were 8 cops surrounding him, like up in his business, it escalated to assaulting officers, meaning spitting on them.
Right.
So this is so emblematic of how fucking stupid police and our policing is, that all they do is show up and fucking escalate fucking everything. This was a guy. They don't try to tell us anything else from this footage. They don't show him doing anything else. They don't show crime. They don't say
why
he was reported for this. Yeah. This was going on. It shows a man walking down a street carrying a bicycle. Mm-hmm. It started with property destruction. But the cops are already there. We're watching their body cam footage, and they're in the frame.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So it didn't start with that.
Listen to these next words carefully. Let them sink in.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that the only thing I can equate it to is we're running a concentration camp without barbed wire, up to and including the medical experiment of poisoning these people with drugs. I don't know how else to put it, and it's infuriating. You can't park your motorhome in this driveway with no engine in it, with all this filth around it. You can't do it. It's wrong. And stop them.
I gotta say, man, this is really nice.
Oh, I am in heaven.
He's in Hobart now. He bought a horse ranch and shares it with his family and these friends.
So this is Griff here, the white guy.
Well, I think the funniest thing that he says unintentionally is that freedom is a concentration camp, because the alternative, again, thesis of this whole video is that they need to be in prison or some intervention has to occur. So the system now is a concentration camp. What will it be after we intervene? That's my question.
You know what's more like a concentration camp? Prison.
Exactly. I mean, like, you might want to think of a different metaphor.
Yeah, all right.
And I used to say, this place is great because the streets are so clean, it's so beautiful. You walk down the streets now, they smell like urine. The cemeteries are being desecrated. People can't go to parks with their kids because there's needles everywhere. My office, bullets come flying through the windows at us. It's out of control. It's nonstop, and we deserve better. And it's all preventable. It's all avoidable. It's all fixable. It didn't have to get like this. I wish I had faith in my government, but after 2 meetings with council members and nothing's changed, I don't really expect anything to change. We're going to have to do this ourselves. Well, thanks for coming down, guys. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it.
In comes Ari Hoffman. He's also angry because there's trash around. Okay, specifically, he's mad that there are needles and meth and condoms and whatever on the gravestones in a Jewish cemetery he cares about. He's running for city council now in District 2. All he says in here is he has anger, and he can't believe that he's been pushed to this point because, you know, he talked to his city councilors. They didn't know how to solve the problem. It's like, well, that's just dumb. I mean...
Yeah, well, he's clearly a man of ideas, or at least has an inflated sense of self-importance.
Oh my god, that's right. Oh, the shots of him and the blow-up toy bouncy castle shit. He's a bouncy castle baron.
Total. And what does he call that? What's the...
Oh, it says real estate and inflatable real estate.
Real estate. Very interesting.
Inflatable estate would be the better joke there. Real estate and inflatable estate. Yeah, no, your city council people don't have solutions that sound smart to you because it's a bigger fucking problem. So
right, and only one city council member is willing to address that systemic issue.
I'm gonna guess he's not a fan of Shamaswan.
In 2016, the latest data we have, for every 100 police reports, 46 of them, almost twice as many, didn't get filed. Nothing happened at all. They were completely ignored. Of the remaining 54 of the original 100, 1/3 of them were then outright dismissed, thrown out. Another third were listed as other, with no resolution. So only 18 of the original 100 reports filed by police actually result in convictions. 18. And of those 18 convictions, after plea deals and lenient sentences, very few cases end up with anyone really being held accountable.
I do want to pick apart this, and he has another like graph moment where he talks about the results of police reports
in a 10-year period, 2006 to 2016.
Yeah, and talking about how, like, you know, he says in 2006 a quarter of reports to police were never filed, and now it's 46%, and then of those only you know, really a quarter are prosecuted anyway. Like many of those are dismissed. It's like, oh my god, in our criminal justice system, if something is dismissed, that means it was fucking horseshit. Second of all, there are probably more, there is a community to oppress, and a visible community that people want police now. So in 2006, there weren't as many homeless people creating trash that all these Magnolia shitheads weren't constantly calling the police on. So, end of story. Fuck off.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
There are, I'm sure, the police department, I'm sure the cops are constantly showing up because fucking white homeowners are looking out their window and seeing fucking vagrants walk by, someone breathing air, and that's a report to the police that gets in. And a lot of the times, probably the police don't even bother to file a report. It files that it came in, but there's no paperwork. And then if they do, a lot of those turn out to be just nothing there and just get thrown out because it's horseshit.
Yeah, well, the thing that really rubs me the wrong way about this too is just like looking at this lens of all of these crimes again should be treated equally, and like they all should go to court, and all these people shouldn't be able to plead out.
Right,
and
if you
they
call
should-
the police on someone,
then it needs to be resolved with jail
and it doesn't end in jail time.
We failed.
Then something's wrong with our criminal justice system. If some like busybody fucking
asshole sees a man walking his dog who doesn't have white skin, then that guy should be in prison.
If a citizen feels a 911 call is warranted, it should end in prison time for somebody.
I mean, that is strongly implied.
Yes, yes.
The real homeless you don't see. Out-of-work truckers or construction workers who've run into bad luck don't live like this, in tents on mud patches. This is something different. This is drugs, heroin, meth. Citizens know it.
Can we at least acknowledge the elephant in the room that this is also a drug problem? I've only heard it being mentioned as a housing problem. This is a drug problem?
The quote-unquote homeless know it too.
I have not met anyone else on the street who's not in some phase of addiction. I mean, of use, of serious use. And I think that that's the starting point. You just have to address that. You have to figure that out.
So I wanted to make sure I got that correct.
I would say 100% of the people that I have met out here are in some level of addiction.
100%.
Yeah.
Every single person.
Every single person I've met out here.
We didn't address this before, but anytime they show Jenny Durkin, it's kind of in this weird, like, progressive tinged goggle way. And then they go on to say, like, no one will talk about the real root of this problem. When, again, like, you have Shoma Sawant, who probably has hours worth of, like, rad rants about capitalism contributing, if not creating.
Well, they don't mean the real, they mean drugs. They mean the war on drugs.
Well, yeah, his cute solution, like, he has some anecdata because he chilled and rapped with one homeless woman on the street.
Next to her tent mansion. Yeah.
Yeah, who just tells him everyone's on drugs. And it's also like, first of all, so what?
Second of all, man, if I was homeless, I would get on drugs.
Well, exactly. Like, what does that say? That doesn't say
I'd be
anything.
like, all right, fuck it. Give me that heroin. Like, what else am I going to do? I gotta keep warm somehow. Jesus.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all just totally fucking, like, marble-brained nonsense. Like, whatever. But it is funny that they do, like, if you cherry pick a neoliberal craven hack like Jenny Durkin, she can sound in these tiny cut sound bites, like
very tiny,
like not really that great, but just like saying things that aren't horrible, saying like, crime and homelessness should not be like inextricably associated and conflated in the press all the time. And it's like they're trying to make her out like she's this fucking communist.
Yeah.
And I mean this is we know this. This is
we do.
A conservative trope. This is we come back to this all the time. They said Obama was a socialist for his entire presidency.
With the eye of a reporter.
It's a miserable life. It really is. You have no place to go to the bathroom. Fires are prohibited most places. Your biggest thing is theft. Everybody complains about theft. There's no safe spot here at all.
He's seen it all. The rats, the human waste, the cold, the torment.
You wouldn't wish this life on your worst enemy.
No.
Right?
No. But it's remarkable that people are choosing this. Even though you hear the statistics from the city that, people don't want to do this, that it's miserable, there's a compassion for people. The people you see, and I see in camps, many of them are choosing to stay this way because of all the drug habits they have.
And that's all driven by the drugs.
Yes. Almost
the drugs drives everything we see here, right?
I would pretty much say that. Substance abuse, heroin, meth, even marijuana to some extent, is the driving factor why they stay out here.
Okay, so they double down on some stuff. He talks to the homeless camp reporter at KOMO or whatever.
Yeah.
And basically they double down on the root problem. All this is drugs. It's all because of the drugs. And that is a very simple device for attacking something that's, built into our political culture as like a big enemy that needs to be prosecuted with a war on drugs.
Yeah.
But also clearly obfuscates talking about any other causes of these things. Specifically, they're saying this is the reason everyone is out here, that it can all be traced to drugs, which would suggest there's nothing else wrong. You know, there are no other factors. But also, they push this line of horseshit about people choosing to live this way.
Right.
This is very common. Now, then they go... They don't take it very far. They say that, but then they say, because of the drugs. And then you go, wait, so you're saying... So what you're saying is people are addicted to drugs, which in your mind is a choice to be on the streets. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a pretty fucked up way to look at addiction. They also let it hang, just this, like, people are choosing to live this way. And, like, you gotta ask, like, what is the fucking alternative? Like, if you had a viable alternative, you wouldn't be doing this, even if you were addicted to drugs. If there was anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
you would use drugs in your apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nothing stopping you from that.
No, the thing stopping you is... Because you're an addict, you can't get your shit together to have an apartment.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying. There are no other factors there.
Right.
It's just that.
Right.
And that if you just got treatment and got off drugs, coming off the street, presumably got that treatment and got off drugs while living in a tent in a street where, as they say, you're a victim of all these deprivations.
Right.
Then you'd be like, cool! Where's my apartment? I'll just have that apartment now. I'll just have that job you mentioned that
cured.
That's, you know, to live in this town, that $70,000 a year job that you can afford an apartment. I mean, no, that's not what they would do. I guess in these people's mind is they'd get free of drugs. They'd pull themselves up by their bootstraps by getting off drugs while living in a tent on a side of a freeway. Then they'd fuck off to somewhere cheaper.
Yeah.
And work in an
No longer our
Amazon
problem,
warehouse, commute to an exurban Amazon warehouse from some deeper, shittier exurb where they live in a trailer park.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Living the dream.
Yeah. That's the American dream. Just don't be on drugs. That kind of is, isn't it? Like,
yeah, well, participate.
Don't be on Fent. That's the American dream now, is don't be on prescription pills. Like,
there's no dropping out in capitalism, I think.
No, man. It's the American dream is to not be an addict. That's all you can hope for. So next up is, like, their own little Willie Horton ad.
Our boy Arby.
Yeah, where, you know, okay, they talk about this guy, and I remember reading about this particular assault. You know, he brutally assaulted an elderly woman. But then, you know, and it's, as they describe it, as a horrible crime. But then they go on this convoluted chain of, like, well, before, like, 96 hours before that happened, he was sitting next to a fountain and was arrested.
In front of the courthouse.
And if we had just, like, gassed him at that moment, presumably is what they're saying. Like,
well, yeah, because he had committed crimes in the past.
Right, and then they go on like, well, but why? Like, if we had kept it, he was released without being charged because he was arrested for dealing methamphetamines.
Yeah.
Which probably, if he was thrown out, like, if he was released, I'm going to guess he had not that much on him and was probably just using it, and that's why he was just released. But even though the cops were trying to say, like, oh, he's dealing it out there, whatever. Who knows? But, like, this is this old logic of, like, someone committed a crime and there were opportunities to take them off the street based on not that crime, but, like, early, you know, whatever. And it's like, yeah. And that this guy, he was were arrested. They had him in their custody. They let him go, but then they say, but they could have looked into his past and seen that he had done time in prison for assaults in the past.
Right.
What's the implication here? That because you had done a crime in the past, you should be arrested for that crime in the future again?
Yeah,
like, I mean, what are you trying to say? The ultimate logic of that is all crimes are punishable by life in prison, never to be released.
Yeah.
Like,
and
first offense. Like, it's just so fucking mind-numbing to, like, try and jump through the hoops of these fucking idiots' logic. Like,
totally. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it is horrific what happened to that woman, but, like, it's pretty clear that these people, again, like, they can't fathom crime, really, and so they have to think of it this way, as like, well, if you've ever committed a crime, then you just are a criminal.
Yeah.
And there's no rehabilitation for you, no matter what your next crime is. I mean, it's like...
Well, or if there was...
It's like 3 strikes, basically.
If there was, well, it's 1 strike.
Well, yes.
Is the ultimate conclusion here.
Yeah.
But, like, what they're saying, it's impossible to rehabilitate criminals, as evidenced by the fact that we've put them in prison for this guy. What did they say? 19 years he's been in prison.
Yeah, I think.
And
so.
he still commits crimes. And it's like, how much more? Clear. If you aren't cured of crime after 19 years in prison, in California, no less.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
There's no hope for the criminal mind, maybe a slightly different way of looking at that is that our fucking carceral state is not a solution to fucking anything. It does not deter or prevent crime.
Right.
It almost certainly does encourage, like, ultimately more crime. Because, yes, these people whose lives have been ruined by prison have been turned into criminals by the system.
Right.
And have, get out and have no way to build a life, You can get into the details of the fact that they can't get jobs or, whatever. But, like, it's just like, God, take a fucking step back. But you can't.
Totally.
All they can see is the stick. They're just so obsessed with the fucking stick.
They are. Well, they want to use it so bad, because again, they believe that they're law-abiding and they're playing by the rules, and that when you don't play by those rules, there should be a punishment.
And don't think for a moment that the visitors to our city don't notice.
Well, it's kind of surprising. I don't know why the city would let that happen. I mean, this is your touristy spot. You know what I mean?
This family is from Tennessee. They seem genuinely confused.
I just don't understand. Isn't it trespassing? You know what I'm saying? So how can they stay there?
Why does the city put up with it? That's a public spot. Why does somebody get to stay there? I don't understand that. I would be arrested, I thought, in my town if I did that.
I mean, right by our parking garage, there's just trash and...
Oh, the smell was awful.
Oh my God, the smell is horrible in any stairwell you go into around here. Oh.
Let me ask you something. Do you think they'll be back to visit again?
Oh, okay, so...
Southern man!
These pasty fat fucks from Tennessee, from
the mountain
This is who they brought it. The tourists they decided to survey for their thoughts on Seattle are these fucking fat white Southerners. Like, who they're the voice of reason we're meant to be listening to.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, how does the city allow that? They're just, like, gobsmacked that...
Yeah, she's like, ain't that trespassing? If I was at home, we'd have that guy hanging from a tree.
because there are camps near the waterfront, or there are tents down it. And it's like... and they're like, this would never be allowed where we're from, where
we venerate law and order.
In the old Confederacy. It's like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, I mean, and he frames it as compassion disguised, or like...
As indifference?
Indifference disguised as in compassion. I don't know. Yeah, look, there is a difference. A lot of other places do treat the homeless even worse than we do, which is they just fucking get rid of them by any means necessary, and they really really bring the stick down to really make it clear for they need to fuck off.
Yeah.
And the bare minimum that the city does by not sending out riot cops every day to beat the shit out of homeless people, like doesn't have to happen in Tennessee because it's never allowed to get like this because the second a vagrant walks down the street, he's probably harassed and driven to the next county over and dropped off and told never to show his face again.
Right.
It's because we're just not that basic level of non-aggression. It's not like we're showing any humanity to these people. It's just we don't want to be seen actually beating the shit out of them.
Yeah, totally.
Or doing these overtly hostile things or overtly visibly indifferent things like moving them to another county, putting them on a train or a bus. That's all that we're doing different here. Is we've just toned down because we're not comfortable with the same level of overt, clear, brutality that other places in the country are. But let's not start taking advice from those people.
And in the last 3 years, it just has gone downhill.
Steve Danishek has spent his whole life in Seattle. He says when misdemeanors stopped being enforced, it was the beginning of the end.
And at that point, everyone got the message. It's a free-for-all down here. It's the Wild West. No laws apply. Do whatever you want. I could go down here and pee on the street or crap over there or smoke a joint. No one's going to get arrested for doing that because they're not doing that. They're not arresting anyone.
If I was a city council member, I might say, well, we're overwhelmed. We've got this homeless epidemic.
No. The city council is not overwhelmed by anything. The city council are idiots. They know that there are solutions out there. They simply have turned their back on the solutions.
So the old man who says the city council are idiots, and then the follow-up to that being
civility crime.
Yeah, civility crime.
SPD's not targeting
not doing their
crimes.
job. This is the broken windows thing. First of all, this is the whole premise of broken windows, that if you let all of these petty misdemeanor crimes go, then things just escalate. I think what Eric is advocating for is debtor's prison.
But yeah, so he's angry the SPD is not pursuing civility infractions, like pissing on the sidewalk and shit. And it's it is broken windows. It's like a chicken and the egg thing, though. It's we know the whole broken windows thing is bullshit. And it's a tool for just aggressively policing people.
Yeah.
because you want to aggressively police people who are there existing. We know this.
Yeah, I would love to hear what the total is of if all the business in the downtown core would put their loss of theft
millions and millions of dollars
a year. Just kind of, if they could compile that stat, we would all just probably drop dead after we heard what the total was.
One of the officers who replied to the questionnaire we sent out agreed. The amount of money lost due to thefts downtown, he said, is staggering.
He goes from the, broken windows shit, the petty crime, civility infractions, to talking about the rates of theft and shoplifting.
Yeah.
He interviews
millions
them.
and millions lost.
Oh, yeah. The cops saying, if we knew what the numbers were, man, they'd be big.
Well, even Scott Lindsay's saying, it's millions and millions, but no one actually quantifying that.
And the Wajimaya person talking about, the boldness that people have when they're and then they say out of the 600, calls from Wajimaya to SPD, the way these numbers could easily be inflated because of just targeting and how much is just bullshit. And are you gonna from just people being targeted unjustly to people shoplifting a fucking apple or something and that you're not sorry, you know what? Here's why you can't prosecute that shit. It's a waste of fucking time and money. It's petty and stupid. And if you're gonna have a grocery store, I'm sorry, you know what? That's gonna happen. It's part of the cost of doing business. We have this attitude, the loss of the idea of prosecutorial discretion. Any infraction in society has to have the book thrown at it. But beyond that, the problem that these people are not understanding is that there are causes larger than these things. Why is there so much homelessness and crime and addiction all happening at the same time? It's because our economy is fucking trash. It is a machine for generating people, pushing people onto the margins of society. And that is always going to cause homelessness, crime, and addiction. It's going to drive people to that in various ways. And that's not to say it's always going to drive people to that, but that is going to happen. When it gets to a certain scale, and not very even that high, okay? It doesn't have to spike that much, crime, before it becomes fucking pointless to try and prosecute it. There's too much. You couldn't. You don't have enough fucking judges. You don't have enough. And thank God, if your only response to this kind of rise in petty crime was to throw the book at every single one, you'd need thousands more judges, thousands more cops and prosecutors, and you would have an even more elaborate and insane police state. It's not the solution. It can't be. That's why you have to talk, when there is a larger volume of these petty, stupid crimes that don't really matter, it's insane to prosecute them all, which is why the city is not doing that, because you look at you fucking triage that shit.
Yes.
Which should tell you that you have to look for larger causes outside just fucking hitting people with the stick of the law. Okay? Identify what is happening here in this economy. This is getting to something good here, I think. We're going to travel back in time to the head tax fight. I was actually at this rally.
You were?
I was here, yeah.
Citizens and shop owners had waited for the people running our city to come up with something, a plan. And then one day last May, a group of construction workers got tired of waiting and took action.
Coming here for this important discussion.
No head tax! No head tax! No head tax!
As you know, I am also a rank and file member of the labor movement.
No head tax! No head tax! No head tax!
On that day, the tide turned against Seattle's proposed business head tax to pay for homeless services and affordable housing.
But if we fight against each other, the bosses win.
No head tax! No head tax!
The city council, which had passed the tax unanimously,
You can say exactly what you think, but rather than chanting against each other, let's hear each other out.
was forced to repeal $75 million worth of business taxes. And for a moment in time, anyway, it felt as though something had changed.
So,
there it is, man.
I was at that rally, but I don't know what that has to do with what he's saying. Like, we don't need to talk about the head tax. This is just this day when Swant was in front of the balls giving a big, a little rally and a speech, and someone brilliantly had a bunch of, like 18 construction workers in their hats and vests show up and chant no head tax. As a good fucking move, it's been talked, some of these guys have been interviewed, it's pretty well understood they kind of didn't have a huge concept of the issue, except that Amazon was threatening to shut down construction, and that's their livelihood. Eric here is sort of giving this as evidence of some kind of turn in the politics of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is what I've been saying stupidly through this whole fucking thing, that this is the perception of Seattle's government, that Shama Sawant is the same as the government, which is fucking ridiculous.
Hilarious.
This is the first bit of progressive tax that has been passed in a long time, not just in Seattle, and then to somehow insinuate that is business as usual, fuck off,
right,
man.
And that repealing it was a turn in the tide back to normal, or to another direction.
Yeah, that these realistic fucking Christopher Rufo Lost Boys, the silent majority, had finally struck a blow against big socialism. Like, go fuck yourself. Seriously, go fuck yourself. Obviously, this annoys me to no end because it's so disingenuous, because nobody else on the council or in city government is a socialist or even really a leftist. Like, go fuck yourself. None of the policies are socialist or leftist.
And that head tax
or
passed in the first place because it was a very meek,
was
sad little
whittled down.
nothing. It was nothing. It was nothing, but it got turned into a political football by the business class, and that's why it seemed like this big left-right thing, and that's insane. It was like a nothing tax, but we've covered that a lot, but that just the way he's using it here is on this very right Seattle sort of paradigm here.
Yeah, that finally the adults in the room had won.
Karen Dannenberg ran her boutique in Belltown for many years, and then things changed.
There was a guy shooting heroin or whatever he was shooting on the sidewalk. I was in flip-flops walking by. There was urine all over the sidewalk, mattresses, a pile of trash that was overflowing, and it was appalling.
She called the police. She wrote letters. Things only got worse.
And I go to Bellevue, and it's calm, and it's quiet, and there's none of this stuff going on. And it's a joy being over there. I never thought I would say I'd be ready to leave Seattle, but I am.
Bye,
man.
Felicia.
Oh, Bellevue, it's so beautiful. Oh, she called the cops because there was a man shooting up. You're not at the beach. She's like, I was wading through trash and needles on a Belltown sidewalk in my flip-flops. That sounds like a you problem. Don't fucking wear flip-flops down a city sidewalk, you fucking child.
no.
You're not at the beach. Jesus Christ. And you know what? You want to mall walk at Bellevue Square in your flip-flops? Be my guest. I'm glad you're happy there. There's this long bit about, like, Rhode Island that's really dumb, and we don't need to... But then he starts talking about treatment with medications, which is a thing that should be greatly expanded. It's true, and you start going, like, cool, this is finally saying something that isn't completely stupid. It's not like a systematic approach, but it is like a concrete medical approach that needs to be part of the problem of actually getting individuals off of their addictions.
Yeah.
And then, but he starts talking immediately about a program treating people with medications in prison. So it's like, that's how he frames the whole thing is, we need to put these people in prison so that we can get this medication. And then he has, like, someone who runs, like, the program on, and just hear what she says about this program of getting these people medicated in prison.
Really, this is the perfect setting because there's not as much distraction, actually.
And the key here is that where she says, like, the line about it, there's it's the
Fewer
perfect setting because there's less distractions. Holy shit! Holy shit! That is fucking dystopic.
Oh, completely.
That, like, yeah, in prison, it's really the best medical treatment, the best place to really get healthy is prison, because there's less distraction, we can cram all these people in one place and control their every move and really make sure they take their drugs by looking down their throat.
Yeah, right, which they show us.
Yeah. And it's holy shit. I mean, she said that with such ease and like,
oh yeah.
Fuck, these people are insane.
Well, it's so paternalistic.
Oh yeah, well, in the darkest way.
Well, and again, right.
Like, why don't we just really, we could solve a lot of society's problems.
People in cages.
I mean, if we just put them in cages and forced them to take our prescribed solution to their various problems.
Yeah.
You know, like what if you know? Yeah,
sometimes
like,
that's what, like sodium barbital or whatever. Sometimes it's Suboxone. I mean,
yeah,
it depends on the
sometimes-
crime.
well, hey, you know, it doesn't have to be all medical. I mean, it could be, you know, go to prison and get mandatory debt counseling. You know, in debtor's prison. You know.
When I got the handcuffs put on me at my house that day when they kicked my door in, I looked at the lady detective and I said, thank you. And she looked at me like I was crazy. She said to her partner, she said, this guy's nuts, ain't he? She said, well, I said, you just saved my life. Because if she didn't stop me there, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I would either be dead or I'd be doing life.
Messed around with the pills and everything, and then once I found opiates, that was the end of it, you know. Maybe if I didn't come in here, I'd probably be dead.
So you think getting arrested was a good thing for you?
I think it saved my life.
And then multiple Rhode Islanders testify to our intrepid KOMO reporter that they are so thankful. One guy tells a story of how, like, when he was arrested, he turned and thanked that lady policewoman for saving his life. And then this kid, like, it was an old dude. Then there's this, like, young kid. He's like, man, thank God I'm in prison or I might be dead. You know, like this is really like selling prison as like,
The
man,
solution.
more people should really just spend some time in prison. You know, if you are in some way a drag on society, if you are homeless, if you're an addict, if you can't make your car payments, if you didn't go to high school, you know what? Come by prison sometime.
We've got the place for you.
It's like they're selling it like it's a fucking spa. Like,
yeah.
And like just sort of a cure-all.
I can kind of imagine somebody going, like a pamphleteer going through encampments in Seattle, and it's just like, down on your luck, you know, like addicted to heroin, and that's like, have you thought about prison?
Do you need to get clear?
Your thetans are out of whack.
Yeah, dude, that's like, they're selling prison like it's Scientology. Like it's a full like like mind, body, soul.
Totally.
Like, you know,
it will literally save your life.
Yeah, it'll get rid of those thetans, those whatever neo-thetans we're talking about here that prison cures. Is like,
Xenu has a plan for you.
Are you not achieving your full potential? Do you feel detached from society, friends, family? Do you see yourself doing bigger, better things? Join us in prison.
Do you feel encumbered by thousands of years of past lives? Yeah, prison's cool.
This might be the darkest thing, and this kid.
Yeah, no, like you said, they are selling it.
Pretty. I got on those pills. They say it like it's just like this. Oh, I got on these pills, man. Yeah. Then I found opiates, and then it was over. Right. And then pretty soon I had this goatee, but they skip, but thank God I'm in prison now. I'm getting clear, and like I have less thetans every day. But what they just gloss right over is where he said, "I got on those pills." You know?
Yeah.
And we all know this now, but he fails to address it here. Prescription painkillers were fucking forced down the throats of Americans. Right. Even if this kid was never prescribed, it's probably that his parents were, you know? Or he just got it like someone's parents in school were, you know? Like, geez, like these things were pushed out by these fucking drug companies. There is a larger structural thing happening here called capitalism that is in our healthcare system, that is for profit, that our drugs are being sold for profit, that encourages like incentives for profit that override like actual medical concerns, to where these people like con the whole healthcare system and
Right.
bribe it into pushing these drugs that they know are insanely addictive.
Mhm.
And this goes back all the way. I mean,
Yeah,
this goes back to this. Fucking heroin is supposed to be the non-addictive form of opiate. Okay, like that. Like
that kinda says it all, doesn't it?
Heroin is the trade name, is the Bear Company trade name. Ugh,
yeah,
all
but
right.
there was actually fraud, like documented fraud that went
Yeah.
on with OxyContin and
Yeah, but you don't. That's not mentioned here.
No, it's not mentioned here.
That just happened. That's just in the air. That's just a personal choice of mine. I got on them pills,
right?
And in my
life
that I got
was
from my
destroyed.
white parents who got. But thank God I'm in prison. I mean, holy fuck, that is dark. Okay, so just to hammer this all home, listen to this spiel he gives, and just know that the whole time it's drone footage like hovering lovingly over a massive prison complex.
That shining prison on the hill?
Look at this place. Look at all the buildings, the infrastructure. What if this was a specialized facility where we could use all of our resources and knowledge to fight this thing that is happening? What if it was a place where doctors and counselors and caseworkers were available, along with the treatment drugs that we know work, the ones we know save lives? What if this was a very specific place where sick people learn how to live life again? Job training, therapy, treatment, all of it in one place. It would have to be a place where the patients couldn't simply get up and leave if they wanted, because the sickness is such that that doesn't really work. But eventually they would leave and have jobs and families and maybe continue to use methadone, Suboxone, or Vivitrol for the rest of their lives, the way some people use insulin. What you're looking at is McNeil Island, completely abandoned for the most part. You might call it an answer, waiting for the right question. It wouldn't have to be here. It could be somewhere else. But maybe that $1 billion that we spent last year could be spent on a tough, compassionate concept that actually works, that saves lives.
He's describing a hospital. A hospital. Oh, but a hospital where the patients cannot just get up and leave. That's... Fuck! No, that... Oh, you... Oof. No, man, God knows, medical treatment, as we know, is never effective unless the patient is strapped down and locked in their room.
Yeah, I've seen Clockwork Orange. I know how that works.
Yeah.
Well, the other funny part about this is it's showing McNeil Island. I'm pretty sure McNeil Island is where the people who are charged with violent sexual crimes, who we feel like we can't release into general population, though they've served their prison terms, are being held indefinitely without due process. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for that,
So
Eric.
it's like, Guantanamo SVU.
It is. That's not a joke. That's that is the truth. That's happening right now. So
cool. Great.
And he'd like to extend that program.
It's like it's literally like a hero shot of this
it's
prison.
Hilarious. Imagine how cool it would be
if everyone could check in to prison against their will and only leave at the whim of the state.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know, probably get a lot of reading done and come out ripped, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, shit, is it free?
It won't be.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's hear his sum up.
A city is a living thing. It has a rhythm and a heartbeat, a kind of soul. It is a collection of ideas that we protect and defend, old ideas and new ones. And over time, the ideas blend into a collective, living, ever-changing dream. And the dream is nothing more and nothing less than a better life for our children. But behind the beauty and the ideals, behind the bridges and the ballparks and the beautiful buildings, the dirty work is the fight. Great dreams and great cities don't survive without a fight.
You nailed it, man. You called it. That the city is...
Oh, yeah, he vocalized what we were saying at the beginning.
Well, first he says it's a living organism with a heart and a soul.
Then it's a collection of ideas and all this shit. Never once does he mention a group of people.
Yeah.
And the place they live. He's, so basically, yeah, it's just the totally abstracted city.
Yeah.
Then he starts talking about the fight and the dirty work.
Yeah, and then he rephrases that 6 or 7 different ways.
So basically, he's like, we gotta do the dirty work to save Seattle.
Sharpen your sticks out there.
We've gotta go over to the dark side.
We have to intervene.
The words of Dick Cheney. That's what he's saying. He's like, it's gonna have to get ugly.
Yeah, I think this is why they're trying to be very delicate with the language that they're using.
They think they're being delicate.
Well, they think they're being delicate, but they're really just clods with one brain cell. Like, this whole the true compassion is beating somebody into the ground and imprisoning them against their will for some petty fucking crime, like pissing in the street, and then forcing them through some drug program.
Well, there's 2 facets of it that are needed. It's enforcement and intervention.
Stick.
Okay?
Well, they're one and the same.
Stick and so carceral stick and healthcare stick. But that's a totally false idea here. Like, one does not need the other. We do not need the carceral state to treat people's addiction or mental illness or whatever and ever. Amen.
And my understanding is that we are treating people in that way outside of the carceral system.
Yeah, of course. Yes, not enough, but yes.
Oh, absolutely.
The idea that you could do that outside of a prison is just sort of is never mentioned, except where he says, like, but it could only work if the patients couldn't leave. And this is the best setting.
Yeah.
Like, in case that thought was entering your mind, like, yeah, but isn't that just a hospital or like a healthcare clinic of some kind? So really, it's really just becomes about then justifying the carceral state.
Completely, yeah.
So it says, but wait, in case you're thinking, but aren't there other things we can do? And the answer is yes, but those things are best done as a part of the carceral police state.
Yeah.
As a part of our... what he's calling for is an ever-increasing prison population to where, like, most of America spends some time in prison.
Right,
like,
for rehabilitation.
Basically incarcerate the entire Midwest and like a huge... Yeah. Like anyone who, basically anyone who's addicted to a drug throughout their life at any time in America. I mean, that's looking at this shit logically. But what we know really is that the carceral state is a tool to oppress whatever communities are deemed in need of oppression. But I mean, we're doing that already. We're just not.
Yeah.
They're trying to soften it with this treatment thing, but fuck, they don't have to go together. I mean,
no, they don't. It's just they want to use that stick so bad.
Well,
they all do. They want to use it so bad.
They just want to see the bad people go away.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
and if they can come through the gauntlet and come out as good people, then sure, fine. Then we'll release them back into society to live productive lives.
Right.
But the criteria is get off drugs, in prison and then immediately become a productive member
Yeah,
of society
no,
with a job and a home, because then that's what's going to keep you out of prison. And that you are thankful for that time. That's what you tell the parole board and any news people who interview you.
Anyone that
you
comes
thank
in contact
you
with
tell
you.
them all the stories, how you thank the cop who arrests you.
Mhm.
You thank the prison guards every day.
Yeah.
And, you thank the judge who sentenced you.
Yeah.
And,
Because you'd be dead otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've summed this up pretty well, but, like, this documentary is very poorly made. It makes very little sense, honestly. It's quite sprawling. It takes a lot of leaps. I don't know really how we went from homelessness to looking at people addicted to opiates.
In Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island, but okay, Eric. But it tells on itself in so many instances. Like the cops, no cop said they gave a shit about helping people. What they said they cared about was enforcing the law.
Like, just let me enforce. The laws are there to be enforced. I just need to enforce the laws. Oh my God, I can't leave a law unenforced.
And that I feel like really that tells you everything about these people and this approach, and that it's all disingenuous. What they really don't like is they don't like people that aren't playing by the rules. You're milking the system, and that just can't happen.
Well, basically, like you were saying, this is about stoking this for the coming election.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is that shitty fucking thing that Christopher Rufo wrote. Like, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. It blames the victim. It says we need to throw the stick at him, and it indicts the city government and all the current approaches that are not the police and the carceral state.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's really fucking dark and horrible.
That 1 hour took us like 3 hours to get through.
Yeah, this is that's awful. But like you said, like, under it all is fascism. They want to put people in prison. They want a police state. They want to watch the boot stomp on the human face and then come over and lick the blood off it.
Well, that's what compassion is, Greg.
Yeah. As we have learned.
It's intervention and enforcement.
Enforcement and intervention in that order.
So I think we got to wrap it.
Cool, yeah. This is over now. Good
It's
night.
It's real late. So thank you for listening.
Do we need to shout out anything?
This is the first episode in a while that we haven't had a new patron.
Oh, that's true.
Kind of a bummer, but that's okay. There's always next episode. Okay. Find us on Patreon, Seattle Sucks Pod, I think. Find us on Twitter. Help us make fun of these craven monsters who are pretty much dominating the narrative across all media in Seattle.
Yeah, pass this one around online, because like no one's gonna watch this shit except like old boomer shitheads in Magnolia. But like, people need to know how fucking sick this shit is.
It is. It's craven. It's disgusting. It's Orwellian.
It's fash as fuck.
In its language and construction, it's disingenuous, and it needs to be ridiculed and really dismantled. So, go do our bidding.
If you haven't heard it yet, we were on Deadbeat Film Society.
Yes, we were. A fantastic film pod podcast that is produced here in Seattle.
Film pod is the little-known Format Wars third player between Betamax and VHS.
Fuck you. Yeah, before Laserdisc was Film Pod. Yeah, check that out, and check their show out. They're really cool, and they have very interesting thoughts on a wide range of films.
Where it's too late, guys.
Yeah.
This We started this stupid and tired. It is 1:30 in the
Yeah,
morning.
when we started, it was St. Patrick's Day, and all the leprechauns were just helping us out with this shit, and now they've gone back to the hood and to space. Where else has the leprechaun been?
I don't know, man.
Okay, anyway, thank you for listening.
Good night.
Good night.